Texas soccer falls in Fort Worth. Texas football amps up for the Red Raiders, and some of the best on the NFL gridiron are out for a while. This is College Press Box. Do not go anywhere. Good evening and welcome into College Press Box. I'm your host, Jason Kinander. Despite the past week with no Texas football, we still have a jam-packed show for you, starting off with Texas soccer, going into previewing the football game against the Red Raiders, and finishing up with some NFL. Let's kick it off with some soccer. The Texas Longhorns fell to 0-2 on the season, losing to the TCU Horned Frogs in Fort Worth on Friday night. There were plenty of scoring opportunities in the first half for the Longhorns. However, they could not cash in until TCU scored 28 minutes into the first half. The Horned Frogs would take the 1-0 lead into the halftime break. In the second half, the Longhorns would have two more key scoring opportunities early on. Again, could not cash in. The score would hold at 1-0 until TCU would add a pair of late goals, eventually making it a 3-0 win. The Longhorns are 0-2. The Horned Frogs are 1-0-1. And I'm now joined by our soccer analyst, Hannah Burbank. Hannah, what happened to the Longhorns on Friday night? It seemed like the opportunities were there, but nonetheless, they are 0-2. What did you think about the game, and do you think that the Longhorns played better than the score actually indicated?
Yeah, it was a tough and physical match between these two teams. Texas ended up with 9 fouls during the game, and TCU racked up 8 of their own, so it was definitely a high-intensity matchup. Texas did have their opportunities. They took 20 shots throughout the game. However, for the most part, TCU did control the speed of play. They put pressure on Texas's back line, and if you look at the stats, all of TCU's 3 goals were scored well inside the Longhorns' 18-yard box. Texas just could not clear it out of the back. And if you go to the other side of the field, Texas couldn't find the back of TCU's net. Yes, they took 20 shots in the game, but only 5 of those were actually on frame. They're going to have to do better than that if they want to get the results. And overall, it just wasn't Texas's best game. Regardless, they did create some opportunities, but they just couldn't capitalize on them.
Absolutely. Now, what do you think that this Texas team needs to do to improve after an 0-2 start and, no pun intended, coming out flat-footed in Fort Worth?
I think it starts from the back line all the way forward. As a team, Texas needs to keep their composure on and off the ball, whether that's in their defensive half or attacking. And the defense needs to focus on clearing and playing the ball out wide as opposed to down the middle, so it makes it harder for that opposing team to serve the ball back in and put that pressure on Texas. They also need to make sure they're closing down players in the box quickly. This is something they didn't do against TCU, and TCU exploited them for it. TCU players had time to take a touch in that box and find the goal, and they ended up scoring 3 on Texas. And when it comes to scoring, like I said earlier, Texas had 20 shots and 5 of those on goal. They need to start finding those corners, crashing the box, and really attacking and connecting up front. They have senior forward Haley Berg, who had 8 goals last season. She's got 5 shots in this game against TCU. She's such a threat up top that if they can find her feet, there's a good chance she's going to put the ball in the back of the net. I just think Texas needs to find the rhythm and start connecting up top.
Here's a big question. Can the Horns turn it around with just 7 games left after an 0-2 start in an abbreviated conference play only season?
I'm confident that Texas can turn this season around. They're 2 games in. They have the majority of their season left, and everything that they need to work on and fix to start seeing results is very doable. I mean, they have all the components to be a dominant team. They have the athletes. You have junior midfielder Julia Grosso, who's the other half of Haley Berg's dynamic duo. Last season, those two put up a combined 16 goals out of the team total of 35 for the season. And this team also has experience playing together. Their starting lineup is all upperclassmen, with the exception of 1 or 2 players. So they've had time over the years to build that chemistry on the field. They just need to work on their execution in the game and translating what they do in practice over to a game scenario. And I really think if they can tighten up those areas in the defensive third as well as in front of the net, they're going to be in good shape against OU and the rest of the season.
I sure hope so. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Hannah. When we come back, we will be joined by our football analyst, Olivia Guzman, who will take us through college football's busy past week and preview the upcoming game for Texas. Thank you. Welcome back into College Press Box. On Monday, Coach Tom Herman addressed the media ahead of the Longhorns' Big 12 season opener against Texas Tech on Saturday. Here's what Coach Herman had to say.
This will be a good test of in-game adjustments for us, I think. They're definitely going to be different than last year, and I would imagine they're going to play us a bit differently than their defensive game plan for Houston Baptist. There's a quiet confidence. I think our guys know what they're capable of. I think the veterans being around here, seeing the makeup of different teams, as well as just the overall sense of what this team is capable of, I do think that there's a lot of confidence in that locker room.
Now I'm joined by our football analyst, Olivia Guzman. Olivia, it was a very busy week in college football despite Texas not playing. The Big Ten announced that they would be returning to play, and it seems like the Pac-12 is going to follow suit. So starting off, what do you think about conferences returning to play when some schools have already played 2 or 3 games, and how does that affect or impact at all, if at all, Texas's college football playoff chances?
Yeah, I think it's awesome that the Big Ten decided to return this season. The leadership saw how the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 were making it work and decided that it would be possible to play. Financially, I think this is a very smart decision for the Big Ten, and the players also want to play. They will have an 8-game season in 8 weeks, followed by the Big Ten Championship. So now going forward, there's really no room for anyone to get sick and have to postpone a game, which means these programs are going to have to be very on top of their testing. The Pac-12 following suit is also a financially smart decision for these schools. They would have a 7 or 8 game season depending on how quickly they can get their program started back up. And by the Pac-12 and Big Ten rejoining, all Power 5 conferences are back, which opens the door for a true college playoff. Something that the NCAA leaders are going to have to look at, though, is what qualifies as eligible for the playoffs, since each conference will have a different season length. Texas playoff chances are the same as before. For them to make it to the playoffs, they have to win the Big 12. And by the Big 10 and Pac-12 rejoining, that doesn't affect their playoff chances, just their NCAA rank.
I completely agree. So far, first 2 weeks, every Big 12 team has played 1 game with the exception of Baylor and TCU, whose openers got postponed. Now, with conference play starting on Saturday, has the Big 12 to this point, small sample size, but have the teams that have played lived up to your expectations? And do you think that do you think that they still fare the same, fare better, fare worse? What do you think about the Big 12 so far?
Yeah, for the most part, the Big 12 has met my expectations. There were some surprises and disappointments, however. OSU was a team that looked really good to me. They have 18 returners on the field, so that's a lot of experience for them. They shut out Missouri State, which is a huge confidence boost for that team, so it should be an exciting game against Texas. OU also looked good. They have a true freshman quarterback, which hasn't happened since 1990, and he looks confident on the field. OU is a notoriously strong football program, and they didn't disappoint my expectations. I think that this OU team and this Texas team will have an exciting showdown at the Red River rivalry. West Virginia was a team that surprised me. I wasn't expecting them to be bad, but they exceeded my expectations. They destroyed Eastern Kentucky 56-10 and had 2 new running backs, Brown and Singfield, who each had a 100-plus yard game. They will be a threat for the Texas defense. Iowa State, Kansas State, and Kansas didn't have the best season opener, and the Longhorns have all 3 teams beat on both sides of the ball. So if they just play their game, they should come out on top. Baylor and TCU have not played yet, but looking at these teams, Texas does look to be the better team. TCU missed out on a bowl game last year, and they're looking to change that. So the Longhorns have to go into that game looking to shut down a team that feels they have a lot to prove. On the other hand, Baylor had a fantastic season last year. However, they lost a lot of talent and their head coach to the NFL. So it will be interesting to see how they plan to rebuild their team, and this is something that the Longhorns can definitely take advantage of.
Absolutely. So enough of the other Big 12 teams. I think we're so ready to see Texas football be back. After the bye week, Texas Tech on Saturday. What do the Longhorns need to do to win the game? Is this an easy win for you, or do you think that it's a trap game?
I completely expect the Longhorns to dominate this game. After their huge game against UTEP, the team is on a high and the momentum is there. Tech barely won their game, winning in a 2-point conversion by stopping it. Looking at the stats, the Tech defense gave up 600 yards, 567 of them being passing yards. Sam Ehlinger and the Texas offense needs to take full advantage of Tech's weak secondary, and I think that they will. Now, Tech did only give up 33 rushing yards, which is something to be aware of. For the Texas offense to be successful, they will need to take advantage of the air. On paper, Texas should win this game. However, they can't get comfortable. They need to treat this game as if it's going to be a close one, or they risk choking.
Thank you so much for joining us, Olivia. When we come back, we will be joined by Adam Ogburn, who will take us across the country with NFL recap from the past week. Hello and welcome back into College Press Box. Football is back, has been back for 2 weeks. I know I couldn't be happier, and I think that all of America agrees with me. So I'm very happy to welcome in Adam Ogburn, who is going to take us through the first 2 weeks, this past week of action in the NFL.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. The NFL had plenty of thrilling matchups here in week 2. Let's take a look here at some of the top games from this week. We're going to start out in Dallas, where there was a wild one between the Cowboys and the Falcons. Here we go at Jerry World AT&T Stadium. The Falcons already up 7-0 at this point, and Matt Ryan's going to drop back. He's going to find Hayden Hurst wide open for a 42-yard score. Falcons up 14-0, and they would keep that momentum rolling. 20-7 with 6 minutes to go in the second. Ryan's going to look, and he's going to find Calvin Ridley in the back of the end zone for a 3-yard touchdown catch. 26-7 Falcons. It looked like they might roll, but the Cowboys would come back. 2 minutes to go now. Dak Prescott's going to look deep, and Michael Gallup's going to come down with it. Initially, it's ruled out of bounds, but they're going to go to the replay. And see, as he comes down, he gets his backside inbound before he hits out. It's a catch of the Atlanta 5, and the Cowboys take full advantage. Dak punches in on the quarterback sneak. It's a 2-point game. Now the onside kick, it's going to slowly roll, and CJ Goodwin's going to fall on it for the Cowboys. The Falcons wouldn't touch it, and suddenly the Cowboys have life. They are fired up about that one. And here we go. And you take full advantage. Dak Prescott's going to look. He's going to find CeeDee Lamb, whose defender falls down, and Lamb's going to get to the Atlanta 30-yard line. This sets up Greg Zuerlein from 46 yards out for the win, and he is money. The Cowboys complete the incredible comeback. Dak is fired up. Jerry Jones loves it, and the Cowboys get to 1-1 on the year with a 40-39 victory. We'll stay in the NFC East. Rams taking on the Eagles. Tyler Higbee catching that touchdown, get the scoring going. And again in the second quarter, it's Higbee. 21-3. The Rams jumping out to a quick lead in this one. And it would be a common connection. Goff to Higbee, and it happens again in the fourth as he finds him for a 28-yard touchdown catch. Put the Rams up 31-19. They go on to win 37-19. Eagles fall to 0-2. Now over to Chicago Bears, looking to start 2-0 for the first time since 2013. Mitch Trubisky running around. He's going to find Darnell Mooney for a 15-yard touchdown catch. Bears up 17-0, but the Giants would come back. Now this is the final play of the game. Daniel Jones is going to look, and he's going to find no one. But a flag comes flying out. Who would it be on? But it goes against the Giants. Offensive pass interference against Golden Tate. Bears 2-0 for the first time since 2013. Now over to Tennessee in the AFC South. 2-1-0 teams squaring off. And it's Keelan Cole to get the Jags within 7. But Josh Lambo, doink, he's denied by the upright. The extra point doesn't go, so it's still a 7-point game. Then Minshew again is going to lob one up. It's Chris Thompson who comes down with it. Lambo makes the extra point here, and we're all tied up at 30. Gostkowski, he had a horror week a week ago, but he nails this one from 49 yards out. Titans back up by 3, but the Jaguars still have 90 seconds. Last chance. Minshew's going to look, try and get his team into Tennessee territory, but it's batted up and picked off by Harold Landry. The Titans will hold on to the 33-30 win. They're 2-0, and they are atop the AFC South. Now out west, Chargers and Chiefs. Justin Herbert, his first NFL start, his first NFL touchdown pass as he finds Jalen Guyton from 14 yards out. Chargers up 14-6. But don't count out Patty Mahomes. He's going to look deep for Tyreek Hill, and Hill's going to come down with it and roll into the end zone. A 54-yard touchdown catch. 17-15 Chargers. So the Chiefs will go for 2. Mahomes is going to roll right and roll and roll. And he's going to find McCole Hardman for the 2-point conversion. And from there, Harrison Butker took over. Final play of the fourth quarter. Butker from 30 yards. He's golden, and it's off to overtime. Now from 58 yards with 2 minutes to go in overtime for the win. And Butker is right down the middle. From 58 yards, he gets the Chiefs to 2-0 and spoil Justin Herbert's debut. Now from the AFC West up to the NFC West as the Seahawks took on the Patriots in a cross-country matchup, but it didn't go well for the Seahawks to start. Wilson's going to get picked off by Devin McCourty, and he's gone 43 yards to pick 6. 7-0 Patriots. The Seahawks respond in the second. Wilson is going to look deep here. He's going to air it out, and he's going to find DK Metcalf, who shrugs off a tackle and gets in for the 54-yard score. 14 all there. Later in the game, the Seahawks now up 28-23. Russell Wilson is going to feel the heat off the edge, but he's going to throw a perfect looping pass to Chris Carson on the wheel route. An 18-yard score, and it's 35-23. With the Patriots, here they come. In Kilharry, down to the 1 with 3 seconds to go. Chance to win it for the Patriots. And Newton's going to take the snap here. He's going to look to go himself, but LJ Collier and the rest of the Seahawks defense says no. They deny Cam, and the Seahawks hold on for a 35-30 victory to get to 2-0 on the season. What a start to the NFL season it was. But there are also plenty of serious injuries, unfortunately, that happened this week. Here are some of them. Saquon Barkley and Nick Bosa suffering torn ACLs. Cortland Sutton is another one who did for the Broncos. Christian McCaffrey is expected to be out several weeks with a high ankle sprain, while Drew Lock is out with an injured shoulder and AC joint, and Jimmy Garoppolo is dealing with a high ankle sprain. Devontae Adams for the Packers has an injured hamstring, and the list goes on with all the serious injuries that the NFL had to deal with this past week. On a more upbeat note, however, the NFL has now gone 2 weeks without a positive COVID test. Those involved in the league are going to hope that will stay the case as they look to complete the season amidst a global pandemic. Looking over at the standings real quick, there are some notable teams who start 0-2, including the Houston Texans, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Minnesota Vikings. In NFL history, only 6 teams have come from an 0-3 start to make the NFL playoffs, so those teams will be desperate to pick up a win next week in week 3. That will certainly be a storyline to watch heading forward. Now we're going to go back to Jason.
And that is all we have for the NFL today. When we come back, we will head down to Wembley, where Matt Marinchak and John Kelly covered an absolute thriller between Wembley and Fredericksburg. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back into College Press Box. It is time to send it down to Matt Marinchak and John Kelly, who were down in Wembley this past Friday to witness the big game between the 2-1 Wembley Texans and undefeated Fredericksburg Battling Billies.
It was a beautiful day for football Friday night as the Fredericksburg Billies took on the Wembley Texans. In the first quarter, the Billies struck first with an impressive kickoff return and a 2-yard rushing touchdown, unfortunately missing the extra point. After some back and forth, Wembley rebounded, ending the first quarter 7-6. Wembley took off in the third, scoring 14 unanswered points. In the fourth, Fredericksburg made things interesting, scoring 2, missing another extra point, and making a 2-point conversion with 3 minutes left in the game. The Billies unsuccessfully attempted an onside kick, allowing the Texans to line up in victory formation and win 21-20. Wembley player Matthew Tippy, who scored a touchdown Friday, gave his thoughts on the game.
I was coming in, they were 3-0, great team. I think great opponent, props to Fredericksburg, but we came out strong first half. Did what we were supposed to do on the offense and defensive side, and it started clicking for us first half. Second half, we got to capitalize in the red zone.
Coach gave his thoughts on what they should adjust moving forward.
Well, there's always things you're going to adjust. I think we got down, didn't execute very well in the red zone. Had way too many penalties tonight. Way too many penalties. We'll have to clean that up. Got let some emotions get the best of us at times, and we got to do a better job on that because those things will kill you at times.
Now 3-1, the Texans go on to play 0-2 Somerset. Also 3-1, the Billies will take on Bourne. Both games are this Friday.
From Texas Stadium in Wimberley, Texas, I'm John Kelly. TSTV Sports.
The Longhorns volleyball team announced their schedule this past week. The Horns will play an 8-week conference play-only schedule with a total of 16 games. Play will begin on Thursday, September the 24th, where the Longhorns will head to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners, a match that can be seen on ESPNU at 6:30 p.m. Texas men's tennis opened up their fall season at the Lakes Tennis Invite this past weekend. Freshman Micah Braswell won the overall title with 6 singles wins. The Longhorns competed against Oklahoma and Texas Tech in the event, which was held in Frisco. A pair of Longhorns competed in last weekend's U.S. Open Golf Major Tournament as former Longhorn Jordan Spieth and current Longhorn golfer Cole Hammer vied for a major championship. Unfortunately, both would miss a cut as Hammer shot 11 over par in his 2 rounds, while Spieth shot 14 over. Girls diver Allison Gibson was named a top 30 finalist for the prestigious 2020 NCAA Women of the Year award. Gibson was named the unanimous Big 12 Diver of the Year this past season and is one of the most decorated divers in school history. Gibson was selected from 161 nominees to be in the top 30. The winner will be announced later this fall. This week in Longhorn sports, we do have a full slate with women's volleyball opening up their season at Oklahoma on Thursday and Friday at 6:30 and 6 o'clock respectively. Women's soccer will take on Oklahoma at home on Friday night at 7. Of course, Longhorns football back in action in Lubbock against the Red Raiders at 2:30 on Saturday. And finally, women's golf will play in the Schooner Fall Classic in Oklahoma on Sunday and Monday. And that'll be all for tonight. From all of us here in our virtual studio and those behind the scenes to make this all possible, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to tune in to College Crossfire on Wednesday night for the best sports debate on the 40 acres and wake up on Friday morning to the 1-0 short sports show to recap the week in sports. Until then, I'm Jason Kinander. Have a great night.